Tonight, good things come to those who wait. Glasgow will finally move to level 2 this weekend, joining most of the central belt as other areas of Scotland move to level 1.
We've never been in more debt than we are just now, so basically we have to have an amazing summer in order just to try and get back onto an equal footing.
Also making the headlines, there are more people working for Scotland's NHS than ever before, but statistics show the pressure our health service faces.
The police want to know what you think about plans for every officer to wear a video camera.
And in sport, just days into their pre-Euros camp, Scotland are hit by a COVID scare. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John MacKay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The pace of Scotland's move out of coronavirus restrictions has been slowed. A mixed picture of changes has been announced by the First Minister. There's good news for Glasgow, which moves from level 3 to level 2, allowing indoor socialising for the first time since last autumn.
But much of the rest of the Central Belt, including Edinburgh, Stirling, Ayrshire and Renfrewshire, has been kept in level 2 rather than moving into level 1 as planned. With the details and reaction, here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
It's 435 days since soft play centres could last open. Level 1 allows them, but at Pandemonium in Erskine the doors will have to remain closed because Renfrewshire is being kept in level 2.
We are completely geared up to open on Monday. It's just like a knife through the heart. Words can't actually say it.
I don't know how much more I can keep going and not knowing from week to week or month to month when I'm actually going to get back to work again.
Right now, most of the country's in level 2, the exceptions being some of the islands in level 1 and Glasgow in level 3. That's all changing next week. Much of the mainland drops to level 1, although some areas with higher case numbers remain in level 2 for a bit longer. Many of the islands get even greater freedom in level 0. And Glasgow, which has had the UK's tightest curbs since September, finally moves into level 2. Indoor socialising is allowed there again with limited numbers of visitors in houses, while pubs and restaurants can serve alcohol inside.
It'll just be brilliant just to be able to be a normal restaurant again. We've never been in more debt than we are just now, so basically we have to have an amazing summer in order just to try and get back onto an equal footing, or not even an equal footing, like near to an equal footing, so it's massive.
I appreciate that today's decisions will feel like, and indeed are, a mixed bag. That reflects the fact that we are in a transition phase. The vaccines do make the outlook positive, but the new variant means that the road ahead is still potentially bumpy. So caution is necessary.
We understand the need for caution, but we also believe more emphasis needs to be placed on the impact of these restrictions on businesses, on jobs, and on people's mental and physical health. We believe a more local approach is necessary, with targeted interventions to tackle local outbreaks instead of sweeping measures.
So the sun's out and the visitors are out. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this was the Edinburgh of old, but in reality there are still restrictions covering large parts of our lives, everything from how we socialise to how we travel, how we work and how we shop. Both the UK and Scottish governments have spoken of their hopes to ease things substantially as we get into summer. So do visitors to the Royal Mile today feel that's realistic?
Everything that I thought would happen has been completely opposite. I never thought it would go on for a year. I think it's been a massive overreaction, to be honest.
I think the vaccine rollout is key. But yeah, I think June 21st might be a bit early. That's just my opinion.
As long as the cases are dissociated from the hospital admissions, we're fine.
Experts say increasingly that appears to be the case.
It's not just the UK we should be looking at. We can look internationally to other countries that have vaccinated more people who are also seeing that break in that link. I suspect that to be sustained, and I also suspect that with every week it will get stronger because more people, both doses, risks are reduced.
Today hasn't brought the news everyone was hoping for, but it looks like brighter days lie ahead. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Well, one place that has been waiting a very long time is Glasgow. Pubs have been unable to open indoors since the autumn. Well, Louise Scott is in the centre of Glasgow for us tonight.
Yes, well, if you live in Glasgow, it may well have been 8 months since you've been inside an establishment such as this. Hospitality has been able to open, but no alcohol served indoors, which for pubs is their main trade. Max's bar here has been able to open some outdoor space, great on sunny days like this, but not sustainable for the long term. Well, joining me now is their manager, Jenny Quayle. Jenny, what did tonight's announcement mean to you?
Oh, I was elated. I was so happy. I was a bit in shock though. I was told the announcement would be Wednesday. Not sure why it was Tuesday. Really happy about it though.
Happy to be open. And
yeah.
For some customers, maybe 8 months since they've been inside, how are you assuring those that are feeling a bit anxious, and what it will be like to serve them alcohol again?
We will always start with online booking system, track and trace, go through COVID safe regulations with them, make everybody feel as comfortable as possible and show them how safe it can be.
Excited to serve people alcohol indoors means a lot to the business.
Yeah, currently we've got 15 tables, outside. People do want to eat indoors, but without alcohol, we only have a few tables a day.
And nightlife is huge for Glasgow city centre, something that's really missed. Will these easing of restrictions be enough to really bring that back to the city?
Not yet, definitely not. No, 10:30 closes from this Saturday. Hopefully the next stage is 11 o'clock closes, but Max's Bar and Grill has a 3 a.m. licence. It has a nightclub. None of those events are going to be taking place for what I imagine to be sometime in the future.
I'm guessing a busy month up ahead for the Euros. Think the industry's ready for that?
Yes, this one is, definitely. Everybody's crying out for it. The tables are getting booked. Everybody wants to come and watch the football. The football's spread out throughout the day, which means we can still turn the tables. More and more people can come and have a good time. They can have food, they can have drink, they can have fun.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Jenny. And as I say, incredibly difficult 8 months for the staff working in this industry, but also the people of Glasgow. Hopefully this weekend brings some of that much needed cheer.
Louise in Glasgow, thank you. Now, as the recovery from COVID continues and society opens back up, a range of new statistics published today lay bare the mammoth pressures facing the NHS.
And while there is good news with surgery figures improving and the number of people working in the NHS increasing, more than 2,000 children and young people are waiting over a year for mental health treatment. Here's our political reporter, Laura Alderman.
In a year of uncertainty and change, pressure on mental health services for Scotland's children and young people has never been greater. And those services could be in crisis. As new statistics show, more than 2,000 children are now waiting more than a year for help.
Effectively, we've got a group of children and young people just now that could end up being a lost generation. At the moment, it's a bit of a postcode lottery. If you live in North Ayrshire, for instance, in that health board area, you've got a 98% chance of being seen within 18 weeks. If you live in Forth Valley, you've got somewhere in the region of around 30, 40, 38% chance of being seen. There should be a parity nationally. That shouldn't happen for children and young people.
But there are some early signs of recovery in the health service. More elective operations were carried out in April this year than any other month since the pandemic began. And the NHS workforce has never been larger, sitting at almost 180,000 staff members. But figures also show more than 7,000 people left the NHS last year. Today, the focus in Parliament was on how the system recovers as the country opens up.
We will build capacity for recovery by better managing unscheduled demand. This is where our GPs and primary care sector are vital, releasing capacity in our hospitals. Primary care are best placed to maintain care within a person's home.
The NHS backlog is at great risk of spiralling out of control. If urgent action is not taken, we could be heading for a full-blown healthcare crisis.
Today's mental health statistics highlight the stark reality facing many people across Scotland, and it is shameful. The NHS has been underfunded for years, demand is increasing, and we don't have the staff to cope. So we are facing a perfect storm.
Although today's announcement signifies a pause in the easing of restrictions in some parts of the country and is a step forward for others, for those desperately needing medical treatment, the wait goes on. Laura Alderman, STV News.
OK, well, let's cross to our political editor, Colin MacKay, who's at the Scottish Parliament. Colin.
Well, another big announcement on easing restrictions today, but maybe not quite as big as had been hoped for. Good news for Glasgow, but 3 million people right across the central belt of Scotland, from Ayrshire to Edinburgh. I kind of feel I should maybe have been allowed to use Sean's weather map for that, but you know, so many people, more than half the country, half the population of the country, still in level 2. A few minutes ago, I asked the Health Secretary, Humza Yousaf, about it. Why is half the country staying at level 2?
So the whole purpose of looking at the data in different local authorities and different local health board areas is that we don't have to take a blanket approach, because one size doesn't fit all. So it makes sense to look at where it is possible to ease restrictions a further level, but in those areas where there's still clusters and hotspots of positive cases, we're keeping them in level 2.
So why not make it even more local? Conservative leader Douglas Ross said it should be hyper-local, just looking at those hotspot areas rather than taking in the whole council area.
So that might be really difficult to enforce. So just take the example of Glasgow. So for those that lived in G41 or do live in G41, G42, where we have hotspots and clusters of positive cases, a couple of subway stops and you're right into the other side of the river. So actually enforcing a hyper-local restriction would be incredibly, incredibly difficult. So we will obviously look at the ideas the opposition have, but we think we struck the right balance between a not one-size-fits-all approach, but also an approach that people can easily understand.
The announcement from the First Minister today is greeted with a bit of scepticism from the business community. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, they say.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I would say that actually the country moving to level 2, but particularly Glasgow going from level 3 to level 2 is really positive for businesses. Of course, those parts of the country that are going into level 1 or indeed level 0, businesses will welcome that. We are looking at additional support, for example, for soft play. So soft play doesn't open in level 2, and whatever we can do further for the business community, our doors are very open one.
Do you think we are hitting a third wave?
Because quite possible. I know a number of health experts have suggested that. The difference, of course, in this possible third wave compared to wave 2 and wave 1 is that we have the vaccination programme being rolled out. Scotland has vaccinated much of our population, 70% of our adult population, with at least the first dose. So we are making real good progress, and that is, of course, helping us, we hope, to break the link between positive cases and hospital admissions, which of course is critical.
But hospital admissions are going up. If you're hitting a third wave, is it right to be going down to level 1, level 0 in the islands?
Again, they have such low numbers of cases. In some cases, actually no positive cases being tested over the last few days. So it doesn't make sense to punish islands by keeping them in higher restriction when the metrics and the data doesn't justify that.
And for the first time in almost a year, 0 COVID deaths across the UK. That's got to be good news.
That is good news. And again, testament, I don't doubt for a minute, to the exceptional vaccine rollout programme, not just in Scotland, but I'm pleased across the rest of the UK too.
Humza Yousaf, thanks for joining us in the STV News.
Thank you.
Colin, the First Minister suggested we could be hitting a third wave, but she seemed to be a bit less cautious about that. Why?
Absolutely. I think that was quite interesting, and I asked Humza Yousaf about it there. But one of the reasons is that whilst the numbers in hospitals is going up slightly, it's nothing like what it was in the first or second waves. And I think they believe that a lot of this, and they haven't quite got all the proof of this yet, but they believe that a lot of this is due to the massive increase in the number of vaccinations, not just in Scotland, right across the UK. Crucially, they're now focusing very much on the second vaccination, because what they're really keen on is people over 40 to get both vaccinations, because that massively increases their resistance to the virus, and that keeps them out of hospital. So if there is a third wave, it's not going to result in the same level of hospitalisations. Ultimately, it's not going to result in the same level of deaths, and that's absolutely crucial. So I think that's why she seems slightly more, or I'm not going to say slightly more relaxed about it, but slightly less cautious about it than I would have expected, because she has been cautious throughout the pandemic over the course of the last year. But crucially, that news that there have been 0 COVID deaths reported across the UK for the first time since the end of July 2020, that's a massive boost for everybody involved in fighting this.
All right, Colin, live from the Scottish Parliament, thank you.
Other stories across Scotland, and tickets for Glasgow's fan zone for Scotland's 3 group matches in the Euros sold out within minutes. The spaces went on resale after a technical glitch during the initial release meant places were available before the scheduled time. There are only a limited number of tickets left for other matches.
Staff on the Caledonian Sleeper are set to go on strike in 2 weeks' time over a pay dispute. RMT union members will walk out at midday on Tuesday the 15th of June and will not return until Saturday the 26th, 11 days later. The action covers days many football fans may be looking to travel to London for Scotland's game against England. Operators say the move is unjustified.
A fire has ripped through a top-floor flat in Glasgow's south side. 9 engines and crews were called to McCulloch Street and Pollokshields this afternoon. Police and ambulance crews are currently at the scene. There have been no reports of any injuries.
Now, a 3-month consultation is underway to gauge public opinion on police officers wearing body cameras. A study by Police Scotland found support for armed officers wearing the recording devices.
Now the force wants to expand the project to cover all staff. It's hoped the technology can be deployed to certain officers ahead of COP26 this autumn, as Kirsty Clark reports.
I'm telling you to get back from the van. Telling you both. I'm videoing right now. Get back from the van.
Body-worn cameras have been used by some officers in the northeast of Scotland since 2013. They're commonplace in countries like America and also widely used by officers down south. Now Police Scotland wants to roll out their use.
I use them for a variety of reasons. Anything from capturing evidence of a vandalism, a smashed up car, a collision. People have assaulted me and it's been captured on camera. I've captured assaults on others, I've captured general disturbances. It's just been invaluable when it comes to policing. But it also gives the public the reassurance that anything I'm doing, I'm happy to be on film and I'm happy for anyone to review at a later date.
A survey back in February found strong public support for armed officers being equipped with the recording device.
Our aim is to roll it out to every other member of staff and police officer in Scotland. We see from feedback and from other UK forces and international kind of research that the public feel more reassured and trust is developed where body-worn video is used and footage ends up in court. In terms of the benefits to policing, it keeps our officers and staff safer. It increases the speed of court process, thereby ensuring victim focus, reduces the number of complaints and also increases morale and the feeling of support and safety in our staff and officers.
The cameras will be in plain sight, not hidden, and data compliance followed. However, some groups have wider concerns.
The consultation runs for 3 months and after that it's hoped armed officers at COP26 in Glasgow in November will be wearing body cams. After that the plan is to roll them out across the force. Kirsty Clark, STV News.
The Glasgow Humane Society have welcomed a brand new state-of-the-art boat to their fleet. The charity saves dozens of lives each year on the Clyde, but also face tough situations when helping the police with recovery operations. It's hoped the new boat will help improve safety on the river. Sasha Spratt has more.
They've been part of life on the Clyde since the 18th century, saving lives and protecting the river. For the first time in several years, the Glasgow Humane Society is launching a new vessel named Lead, a name with special memories for one of the charity's officers.
Lead was a bomb dog, he served in Afghanistan. He was my dog in Afghanistan as well. He ended up injured in his last patrol, so when I left the army I got the opportunity to adopt him. So once I adopted him, he used to come to work every day with me down at Clyde, at Glasgow Humane Society. So sadly he had to get passed away last year. You're always going to hear his name Lead when people are mentioning the boat and stuff, so there'll always be a bit of recognition there with him.
Carrying out rescue and recovery missions, the Glasgow Humane Society is the oldest life-saving organisation in the world, and it's hoped Lead will dramatically improve the work that they do.
It's about being part of a riverside community that is developing. Everything is focused on the river and we have a permanent base here. That's what we're here for, to help you, to help Glaswegians, visitors to Glasgow in work, play and enjoy the riverside.
They may not always get the praise that they deserve, but their work
is extremely worthwhile. It saves so many people. William and the rest of the team are out day in, day out, no matter what weather conditions are like. They are there to help and support Glaswegians and anyone else who comes to the Riverside. I cannot thank them enough for all the work that they do. They are the best of what Glasgow has to offer.
Lead has been on the water for a couple of months, and even before the official naming ceremony, the vessel has helped save lives already. It's hoped she'll help save many more. Sasha Spratt, STV News, Glasgow.
Time for the sport. We're hearing about fan zones and all the rest of it. It's all the build up to the Euros. I am actually, yeah. It's all about the Euros though.
It is. Got a couple of friendlies ahead of the Euros, but a setback for the squad today after a player tested positive for COVID.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's.
Good evening. Scotland boss Steve Clarke says he's hopeful his squad won't face any further coronavirus scares after John Fleck tested positive at their training camp in Spain. The midfielder is self-isolating, but every other member of the squad has returned negative tests, as Ronnie Charters now reports.
Less than 2 weeks before the start of the Euros, and Scotland have been hit with a COVID setback. John Fleck testing positive 1 day out from their Euros warm-up match against the Netherlands. The SFA believe the midfielder didn't catch the virus at their training camp in Spain, and Steve Clarke is hopeful this will be the last.
No symptoms. Obviously he's got to isolate for a few days now, so we'll keep an eye on him. We'll look after him as we do everybody, and hopefully it stops there. It's just one of those things. We know the state of the world at the moment with the pandemic, and we just have to deal with it as other countries might have to deal with it as well.
Every other member of the squad have returned negative tests and will travel to the Algarve to face the Netherlands tomorrow. But Captain Andy Robertson admits Fleck's positive case is a reminder of how precarious a situation they are in.
Flecky will be obviously ready when he gives a negative test, and luckily it's happened soon enough that he won't miss out in the Euros. But it just means we need to be even more careful the closer it gets, and the boys are already switched on to it, but we just need to be extra careful now and make sure we get no other positive tests.
Clarke hopes his full squad will be available when they face Luxembourg on the 6th of June and watch the final dress rehearsal before the Euros begin. The Scotland boss says these friendlies are perfect preparation as they look to become the first Scottish side to make it to the knockout stages of a major tournament.
The way the Dutch play is not dissimilar to the style of play that certainly England and maybe a little bit Croatia will play as pot one or number one seeded teams. So should be a good workout for us in terms of the friendly, and a good workout for us in terms of the games coming up in the tournament.
Ronnie Charters, STV News.
So Scotland against the Netherlands tomorrow, and ahead of that one, Dutch boss Frank de Boer has praised Scotland's qualities, and he believes the Scots have a chance of qualifying to the knockout stages of the Euros.
They have a solid base, and from there they try to score goals, and I think it's difficult to beat them, and also the system that they play. So we're going to try that tomorrow, but they are not favourite, but still they have a chance, to come to the next round. That's for sure.
In other football news, Rangers have launched a share issue to fans with the aim of raising nearly £7 million. Supporters will be invited to purchase shares worth a minimum of £500 and a maximum of £100,000. Rangers say the shares will provide subscribers with the same rights as the current owners, including voting rights. On to rugby, and Gregor Townsend will still play a big role in Scotland's summer tour despite being away with the British and Irish Lions. Interim head coach Mike Blair has named 17 uncapped players in the squad for the matches against Georgia, Romania and England A over June and July.
Greg has been hugely involved with all the tour stuff, as is Steve Tandy. I don't know where they get the hours in the day, but Greg is so organised, and it's something that I need to learn as well, how you get that organisation. But he's been brilliant. He's been a huge part of the process of who's been selected, of how I go about doing my job, and how we can get the best out of this group.
And that's your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow, folks.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's.
The weather now, and Sean's on his travels.
Well, John, this week I've brought you north to the beautiful Balmoral Castle for a lovely wee day trip today out in the sunshine. No, there is a meteorological reason that I've decided to come here, and I'll get to that in a wee second. But first of all, a wee story for you. 1847, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert were holidaying in the west of the country where it just rained and rained and rained. We know all about that, don't we? The east of the country is normally a lot drier, and they had a friend who was in Deeside that said it was much drier and the sun was always shining. So therefore, they decided to set up holiday home to the east of the Cairngorms, where it is a lot drier, and the rest is history. Now, the reason I'm here is because the east of the country has had its wettest May on record in some spots. Balmoral, and it is very significant here, that's the reason I've decided to come here. Our records go back 107 years, our wettest May on record for 107 years. Now, for us in the west, it's actually been much drier in some spots, especially at Dunstaffnage, just outside Oban. We had 55% of what we normally expect for May, half the rainfall we'd normally expect. And of course, today it is the first day of meteorological summer, and it's been a bit of a scorcher. More to come. Let's have a look at the forecast.
Blue skies and sunshine are in the forecast. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
What a stunning few days we've had. Lots of lovely sunshine, those very high temperatures as well, and not much changing, at least tomorrow. But tonight we hang on to clear skies for most of us. Temperatures staying very mild like last night, about 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. Could see a little bit of high and low cloud coming into eastern parts and stretching its way through the central belt into North Lanarkshire, maybe Glasgow by tomorrow morning. So in these areas could be a bit of a slow start to the day, misty and murky, but then it burns away, and for most of us, lots of lovely warm sunshine to enjoy once again. But do bear in mind, those UV levels are very high. The risk of a few very isolated showers across lights of Col and Tyree early on tomorrow morning, but they'll be very, very isolated. Now look at the temperatures. The further east we go towards West Lothian, Western Fife, Falkirk and Cluckmannanshire will hold on to that low cloud a little bit longer tomorrow. So temperatures here about 16 to 17 degrees Celsius. As we come a little bit further west into North Lanarkshire and Glasgow, we're getting up to about 20 degrees Celsius. But here comes the scorcher as we head into the southwest. Ayrshire doing incredibly well tomorrow, up to 24, maybe even 25 degrees Celsius. So it is going to feel very warm out there. Now across the West Highlands and also Argyll, we're looking at temperatures nudging into low, perhaps mid-20s in one or two spots. We'll see a bit more cloud around on Thursday, and also the risk of some showers as well, but don't worry, that isn't the end of the good weather. Friday it looks as if we should be back to dry and sunny conditions. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Sean in Balmoral. We always knew he was TV royalty, didn't we? Anyway, Scotland Tonight is on at 10:40.
From all of us, thanks for watching. Good night.
Bye-bye.